All right. So I am working on the snapper project again, and I decided to go ahead. I'm going to leave the engine in here, and I am going to rebuild it, or get it running. And the other engine I have, I'll use for pieces if I need. Some of the stuff I'm going to go ahead and get like the new ring gear and starter gear on. I am going to, shell out some money for that stuff. I mean, I'll shell out the money when I have to, but if I can use the other engine for parts, I will. And the reason for that, I think this is worth it. I mean, I'm spending a lot more time than I thought I would, but I think it's going to be a great mower when it's done. And the other engine I have, I'm thinking back, and I have another project that I'll start one of these days, maybe after this one. But I have another old lawn tractor that I want to restore, and that one I want to completely do a complete restoration on it. Frame off everything, and but it has an old Tecumseh engine in it, and I'm not sure if it's running yet. And it's a 10 or 11 horsepower. I think it's a 10 horsepower Tecumseh, and I do want to get that one running too, but if not, at least I have a backup here. I can slap this 12 horsepower into it. Yeah, so thanks for all the feedback, and I concur with a lot of it. I mean, the majority of everybody's saying just to go ahead and fix the engine, and that's, yeah, I'm thinking along the same lines. If I swap them out, well, I still don't have that engine. I'm going to have to get it running anyway, and I'm not so sure this other engine's running yet either. So whichever way it goes, I'm going to have to take some time and get them running. Well, that being said, I'm going to start taking this apart again. I think I'll go ahead and take all this off, replace these gears here and the ring gear on the flywheel so that I can get the electric start going, and I might take the magneto off the other engine and see if we can get a good spark off of that. But other than that, let's get started. Okay, so I got the cover off of there. You see there's the cover. Here's the engine in this pile, but take a look at that. I was gonna take the magneto off, but there was a definite rat's nest in here, and it looks like they chewed on the magneto cable. So I don't know if that's worth even trying. So bummer. Yeah, this one looks like it does need a little work too, so I just might use it for parts, or I'll keep it for a backup, like I said, on the next project. Alright, so we got the cover off. And I even changed the spark plug. The spark plug that was in the other engine was different, So I'll look it up, but I went in and swapped it. I'll look up and make sure that one's the right one and this one's the wrong one. And anyway, let's get the flywheel off. Change out the gears. I was about to take this off to get this clutch off, but I thought this was pretty interesting. This little cap right here. Let's see, I had it off a second ago. If you've never seen the inside of there, see this set of bearings ball bearings that are in there. So when you turn it counterclockwise, it'll spin, and you can see the bearings are floating around in there. And then when you pull it, And there's your bearings, like here, here, and here. It looks like about 5 out of 6 engage, but it keeps it from rotating, and then it'll rotate the crankshaft. So kind of surprised that came off that easy. So I'm going to put it back on. Once I get it off, I'm probably going to clean up around here and see if these bearings are damaged or what, but get it running, get it rotating smooth again in there. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Okay, this is going to be a tough one to get off. Usually I've done this on a horizontal engine, and the flywheel had the fins, the metal fins sticking around, where I could, you know, use a crowbar or something for leverage, and then use this to twist it off and remove the clutch. It's just threaded on under here. But this one, it's all plastic, and that would for sure just break apart. So what I'm going to do the old trick where the spark plug, I took the spark plug out, and I'm going to fill the cavity, I'm going to fill the cylinder with just this nylon rope. You know, stuff it all in there to the point where you can't, you know, where the piston is pushing up against all this soft rope, and stop it, right? And this way it'll keep it from rotating, and it won't damage the insides of the cylinder. So let me stuff it in there if I can get to it. The camera's in the way. See, the rope's just going in. So let me finish stuffing this thing, and then we'll see if we can take that out. Alright, so I shoved a lot of rope down in there, just straight into the head, trying to keep the piston from going all the way, you know. But I'm going to have to use a monkey wrench here. My channel locks aren't big enough to squeeze down in here. I'm sure there's a special tool that Briggs and Stratton has, but hopefully I can do this without breaking all this stuff off. It's just cast metal, so there it goes. Alright, dang. And I'll go ahead and pull this rope out of here. So all that, this big lump of rope is what I shoved down into the head from here over. So, I've done that before. It seems like it works better on the overhead valves, because it's going directly into on top of the piston, you know. All right. Alright, there's the clutch. Make sure we don't lose that. Alright. And lo and behold, let me show you what I'm looking at. So I was looking for a, you know, nut. I'm just gonna have to, you know, get a pry bar or something and pull up on it, and then boom, hit it with a hammer and do that trick. But if you look real close, you see the flywheel key there. It's offset a little bit, so there's our problem with the timing on it. Looks like the key is almost separated, but it's definitely off. So let's get this flywheel off and see if we have a key to replace that. Alright, so I was going to do the crowbar thing, like up under here, get some leverage and then hit it with a hammer, but I forgot I had the old official Briggs and Stratton flywheel puller. So you can see where I put an impact wrench under here on top of the crankshaft, and we'll see if we can pull this thing off. And I put some penetrating oil down here. Let's see if that would help any. Did that get it? Yep. Alright. Well, I thought that got it. Yep, there it is. Alright. Let me put some of this stuff up and we'll pull that flywheel up. Yeah, I do like that little puller. They definitely work, and it saves you, because when you're trying to get under here with a crowbar and stuff, you run the risk of cracking stuff underneath where you're trying to get leverage. I used to do it that way all the time. That's why I forgot that I had that puller, but that puller really works pretty good. Okay, we got a lot of junk in there, but there's the split key. You can see. I hope I've got one that'll fit in there. I'd hate to have to wait for more parts. There's more junk. Alright, let me look at my bag of goodies and see if I can find a key. Alright, here's my box of little goodies. I've got some keys in there. Some quite huge. That one's kind of small. These might work. Yeah, I think that will work. Let's see how it fits in the slot here. Oh, dropped it already. Yeah, I think that's perfect. Fits right in there. Good deal. Okay, I was sidetracked there. I was working with the key, and I forgot the whole reason I took this off was to replace this gear. So you can see the kit I got. Just replacing the plastic with the metal one, which is great. And it also came with the replacement starter gear, and then all the miscellaneous hardware. I think these were pressed in, because I don't feel any threads. So I might have to go into the... I'll put some penetrating oil, of course, and I'll go to the shop press and see if I can press those things out. Alright, well that was a pain. I just had to put it on the press, but while I was pressing them in, the bottom part of the rivets, or whatever you want to call those things, they mushroomed out. So I had to beat them back in, cut the heads off, and then drive them out. And but there she blows. It's good. All the magnets look like they're in good shape. And let's see, I'm sure this is that's not it, that way. Alright. That'll fit on nicely. Just bolt them down. I'm missing one. There it is. Alright, good. They're lock nuts. So I was thinking about that earlier. If they weren't, I was going to Loctite them in. It looks like these are, they go flush in this way. Alright, so with these things here, you can see the pin. You just line that up and punch this out. And then this whole piece, along with the spring, the cover, and then the gear, you can take all that out and then reassemble it the same way. Put it all back together, and it came with a fresh pin. So let's tap this sucker out. Coming out is trying. Alright, so it's been a couple of days. I'm trying to remember where I left off here. You can see I ended up just swapping out the whole starter. I was going to leave this in here and just replace the gear, but the more I looked at it, when I saw how loose that was, it's clanging around and has a broken base on it, and it's cracked across. I was like, alright, I'm just going to go ahead and replace the whole thing with this one, and I might try to fix this one later. Hopefully I can bend that back and just replace the Bendix or something and replace the gear, but for now I guess there's no rush for that. I just got that off the donor machine, so I'm ready to put the flywheel back in. I've got the key ready, and right before I put the flywheel on and all that good stuff, I might go ahead and take a look at the carburetor while it's wide open. Looks like it's easier to get to. So I'll go ahead and clean the carburetor out, do the due diligence, I guess. Everything else on this is needed, you know, some kind of repair. But I'll go ahead and clean out the carburetor. If there's anything funky going on, I'll film it. If not, it could be just a routine cleaning. Then I'll put the flywheel back on, and we'll connect the battery and see if it'll crank. Alright, see the carburetor's back on. No big deal. Just a routine cleaning on it, so I kind of skipped over that part. Thing is, if I can get this key lined up. All right, there we go. Alright, that's engaging the way it should. Alright, let's get the clutch and the cover, everything back on, and we'll hook up the battery. Alright, just want to keep you updated on what I'm doing. You can see I put everything back together. I'm sure you didn't want to watch me to do all that. No big deal. And you see the only thing change I did here was put a new fuel filter on it. And here's the tank, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in place. So I can feed some gas through it. But before I put gas in it, I need to refill the oil. I drained it of all that nasty stuff. Alright. Alright, I'm going to fill it with oil, put some gas in it, and I need to make sure the battery's going to fit. Alright, so you see I got the battery on, and when I'm looking at the cables here at the wiring harness, so here's the hot, and it's attached to the starter solenoid along with the battery main power there. I'm going to splice that on, and I haven't touched anything else. I haven't reconnected any of the safety switches, anything like that. I'm going to see if that'll do it. I just have to turn on the key there, and I guess let's see if yes. All right, so that's cranking. Let me put some gas in it. Alright, so doesn't sound like it's getting spark, and what I'm doing, I'm retesting these grounds here. So at this point the key is on, so it should not be grounded right here, right? Because if it's grounded here, it's going to short out the magneto. Right, there we go. So we still have a short going on here somewhere. So there's with the key off, and it should be doing that. So with the key on, we should not have the ground. So let's look at the wiring again and trace it back. Alright, so the only thing I did, you can see the magneto, and I left this wire here. This is the one going to the ignition switch. So this one here I disconnected because I think that in the brown one it goes back and it ties into all the safety switches that were all cut up, and so I know there's a short in there somewhere. So right now it was reading off like it should. The ignition switch is off and it was reading continuity between this and ground. Then when I turned the key on, it stopped. So I'm going to set this up over here. Alright, let's give it a big shot here. Muffler is just full of oil. I'll let it run for a little while and see if it'll burn all that stuff off. Still burning a little bit. And it does miss every now and then. So you got to consider I'd like to get the correct magneto for it and see if that'll keep it from missing like that. Well, what do you know? It got started. It was running pretty rough. It sounds like a spark problem still, so I'd like to still replace the magneto, get the correct one for it, and make sure that's the problem, process of elimination, I guess, but at least we know it is getting spark. If I want to rewire and fix all the safety switches on it. It's all there. Just got to piece it together. But right now it's just controlled specifically off the ignition switch. Right, so it's just on and off right there. And it was smoking up pretty bad, but I think it was just the muffler that was it was just full of oil, because when I drained the oil, it was full of gas and oil, and I think it was when I was pouring gas directly down into the air intake with the carburetor, and I looked real close, and that's where that PCV valve, I guess you'd call it, just like in a car or whatever, it was right there, so all that gas was just being siphoned right back into the crankcase. So I drained all that out, but I think a lot of it got into the muffler too. And well, other than that, I just run it for a while. You see it's not smoking like it was. And the next thing, I guess I'll start underneath. Now's the time to start looking at all of the mechanics underneath the mowing deck, the transmission, or the what is it that has that drive wheel on this one, and make sure everything is working fine. So that will be coming up in the next video. So once again, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and watch for the next video.